Welcome to Finding the X and Y Intercepts video. The best way to use this video is to take notes while I'm teaching. If you need to, pause the video often to get those notes down, and every time the video arrives at a "you try," pause the video, attempt the problem, and press play when you're ready to see the solution and the work. In this section, we're going to cover standard form equations and X and Y intercepts given graphs and equations. Let's talk about standard form equations. Standard form equations have the form ax plus by equals c, where a is a number, b is a number, and c is a number. So this is different than our slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. Now there are other kinds of equations, but the two main equations that we're going to be talking about in this class is standard form and slope-intercept form. So take a moment to notice the difference between the two. Note that you can find the slope and y-intercept really easily here, but you cannot from standard form. However, standard form is great for finding x-intercepts and y-intercepts. Now, why do we want x-intercepts and y-intercepts? Well, these are really helpful to graph standard form equations. Those ax plus by equals c. We can grab them really easily. Once we've got 2 points, we can connect them with a straight edge. And then, of course, sometimes they ask specifically for them in a problem, and then you need to know how to find them. So let's take a look. An x-intercept is when the value of y is 0. So an x-intercept is along the x-axis, which means that we didn't go up or down any, which is why y is 0. On a y-intercept, that is where the graph crosses the y-axis, which means we didn't go left or right any, which is why x is 0. How can we find the y-intercept? Well, it's easier from a graph. You just look where it hits the y-axis and you have your y-intercept. When you're given a table, you try and find where x is 0 and the y-intercept is the y value that corresponds. So if you're looking at a table with a series of values, that is your y-intercept. And from slope-intercept form, the b value, you can get the y-intercept right away from the y equals mx plus b. In standard form, we have to do a little bit of work. We're going to plug in x equals 0, and we'll get the ordered pair 0, and then whatever our y value is. X-intercept. Well, when we're looking at a graph, we're simply looking where the graph hits the x-axis. And it's that value for x, and y is 0. If we're looking at a table, we're looking where y is 0. Maybe it's something like this. That would be our x-intercept, excuse me. And when we're looking at slope-intercept form, you cannot see it right away. You have to do the work. You have to plug in 0 for y and try and find x. And that'll give you your ordered pair x-intercept, y is 0. And for standard form, we have to plug in y equals 0 and solve for x. So it'd be something like ax plus b times 0 equals c. That'll make that go away, and we can go from there. So let's start with looking at graphs. So in this example, they want us to identify the x and y intercepts for the blue and the red line. So let's start with the blue line. Let's look at the x-intercept. So this is the x-axis here. So we're looking at the x-axis. Where does that blue line hit? It hits right here. So the x value is -2. So our x-intercept is -2, 0. And let's take a look at our y-axis. Where does our blue line hit? The y-axis right here. And that's also where y is -2. So we have to be really careful. The x was 0. There we go. The red line. So we're looking on that x-axis again. Where does that hit? And it hits right there. It looks like it's in between 0 and -1. So we could say that that is the value -1/2, 0. And we're looking on the y-axis, and it looks like it hits right at 1. You try finding the x and y intercepts for the green line. How'd you do? We're going to move on to example 2. We're going to identify the x and y intercepts given the equation below. Write your answer as a point. Well, this equation is y equals mx plus b. So I like to find the x-intercept by doing the following. I write x-intercept and then immediately below it I write y equals 0. So that means where y was, I need to put a 0 and solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 4 on both sides. Negative 4 is equal to 3x. Divide both sides by 3. X is equal to negative 4 over 3. Immediately write it as an ordered pair. X comma y was 0. That is our x-intercept. Let's take a look at our y-intercept. Now, the great thing is that we actually know our y-intercept here. The y-intercept is 4. So you can immediately go to 4, but maybe you didn't notice that right away. You could also plug in 0 for x, and really quickly, 3 times 0 is 0. You can see, oh, I knew that already. Go ahead and give this example a try. And how did you do? We're going to do one more example together, and we're going to identify the x and y intercepts given the equation below. This equation is in standard form. So we'll start with our x-intercept. That is when y equals 0. So that is 4x plus 2, y is 0 equal to 8. Well, 2 times 0 goes away, so we get 4x is equal to 8. Divide both sides by 4. X is equal to 2. Write it as an ordered pair right away, 2, 0. Now, our y-intercept, we cannot just say, oh, it's b. Notice that this is a capital B, it's not lowercase b. So our y-intercept is when x equals 0. So that's 4 times 0 plus 2y is equal to 8. Well, 4 times 0, that goes away. 2y is equal to 8. Divide both sides by 2. Y is equal to 4. We get the ordered pair 0, 4. You try this next problem and press play when you're ready to see the answer and the work. And that concludes the video on finding x and y intercepts.